Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on our LinkedIn Live. I am delighted to be here with both Monica Randall and Summer Bazemore. Today, we're going to go all through 8A certification tips and tricks and everything that you need to know if you are thinking of getting 8A certified. If you are 8A certified, congratulations. We're going to help you out. So as a brief introduction, my name is Stephanie Chin, she, her pronouns. I'm the Hutch program manager at Fearless. Hutch is a 24-month digital services incubator program for underrepresented entrepreneurs to be able to grow and scale within government contracting. We kind of think of ourselves as a home base where entrepreneurs can grow without getting lost amongst some of the bigger competition out there. So let's get right to it. Monica, Summer, would love for y'all to briefly introduce yourselves. I'll start with you, Monica. You have a fascinating background, having previously been at SBA. So tell us a little bit more about who you are, what you do, and a little bit about what we can expect to hear from you today.
Sure. Well, we do a lot, so I'll talk about that last, and I'll make it extremely brief. It's a really long list of services, and I'm sure Summer has the same problem as well. If someone says, "What do you do?" It's like, girl, that's a loaded question. Like, I do a lot of stuff. So as far as my background is concerned, I guess you could say my knowledge, experience, expertise came from all the training I received from SBA, which is known as the Small Business Administration. So I worked there for 23 years, right out of high school in '89. Resigned around 2012, started the Randall Group in 2011, and pretty much never looked back. So anything that's SBA related or driven, we assist small businesses in that, and we definitely want to help them get into the federal and state space. The big way we do that is through certifications. So that's the big thing we do. I would probably say that's like our bread and butter. And then we do some proposal writing, some capability statements, websites. We kind of dribble in any of the a la carte items that a client might need. But that's pretty much the gist. So it's been a little bit over 33 years of doing the same thing every day. Sometimes I scratch my head like, do I wanna anymore? But I do love it. And the small businesses such as Summer's company is absolutely amazing. So that's why we do what we do.
Absolutely. Monica, you've been in the business for a long time, so I can't wait to dive into the conversation with you. And Summer, would love for you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about Ey3 and some of the services that you offer. How did you get to this place as an entrepreneur? How long have you been in the field?
Sure. And Monica, don't you dare go anywhere because we need you. We need you personally, and small businesses need you. So I couldn't not say that. My name is Summer Bazemore. I'm the owner CEO of Ey3 Technologies. We're a cybersecurity and systems engineering firm. We're proudly headquartered in Prince George's County, Maryland. We're servicing the federal government and also more recently doing workforce development to our local Prince George's County partners, providing Scrum instruction and also cloud development instruction. I have been full-time working in system engineering, computer science, IT for over 20 years. And that means I started working when I was 5. So I have a lot of, a lot of field knowledge. And in terms of entrepreneurship, I started off as a consultant in 2014. But when I joined the Hutch program in 2019, that's when Ey3 was officially born. So we've been at this for about 2 years now, and we're just ready to kind of roll. So we're getting our infrastructure set up and using or utilizing companies like Monica's to help us through all of the certs, all of the things to help us to be successful. So glad to be here, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Monica, can you give us a quick rundown on what is the 8A certification program for those who might be newer to it or trying to figure out whether their company is a fit or not?
Sure. 8A is one of 5 federal certifications. And to us as businesses, they are a certification. To your customer, they are a contracting vehicle. So it's a contracting vehicle by which they can set aside. So you'll see that term a lot. They can set aside contracts into the 8A program. So what does the 8 and the letter A actually mean? It's the section of law that governs the program. Nothing fancy there. They just happen to name it 8A. People always ask me, what does that mean? It means nothing. It's just pretty much the section of law. But the program itself is for any business that can prove that they are socially and economically disadvantaged. So it is not race-based. It is not gender-based. It is not NIATS code-based. It is if anyone, irregardless of background, can prove that the owner on whom eligibility is based is socially disadvantaged as well as economically disadvantaged, and you have strong past performance, not operating at a loss, not lack of delinquent taxes and a whole bunch of other stuff. But that's what the program is primarily for. It's for you to go after those contracting opportunities that are set aside for those who hold 8A only. And that's pretty much the gist of it. Again, it's just one of many contracting vehicles that you can offer to your customer. The more contracting vehicles you have, the more opportunities you have. Why? Because you give your customer choices. I have my GSA, I have my 8A, I'm also woman-owned, and I'm working on my hub zone. You've now given me 4 different ways to get to you. So that's how you need to look at a cert. You never obtain a cert to check a box. You grab the cert to do what? To make money from it. So don't obtain a cert just so you can put the nice little logo, on your website and, stick it on your CAPE statement. Many companies do that, and they make absolutely no money from that certification.
Yeah, absolutely. And what else is unique about 8A is that it's time bound as well. So that's something that entrepreneurs should definitely take into consideration. So Monica, can you tell us a little bit more about that, and what are some of the things that you feel like companies should be doing during that time while they do have their 8A certification?
Great, Stephanie, that's a great point. So all the other certifications, as long as you continue to be eligible, you can stay in those programs forever. Woman-owned, obtaining your GSA schedule as long as you're generating revenue, so forth and so on. But 8A, you get 9 years to make it work. 9 years, and that's it. Once you're in, you're in. Once you're out, you're out. Yes, there are some other creative ways where you could have small percentages of ownership in other companies who also gain 8A, but you, as the majority owner, can never obtain your 8A again. So you have 9 years to make it work. You want to hit the ground running. So let's say you hire the Randall Group to package your 8A. You start pitching and telling your customers about you. Hey, we're working on our 8A. If you've got anything coming up, we should be ready in a few months. You start marketing that baby like immediately. And that's what 8A is all about. Marketing, 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 building relationships, shaking hands, kissing babies. It's one of those certs where just to have it won't be sufficient. You must know how to leverage it, how to market it, and you need to tell everyone, meaning your customers, potential and existing, that you have it or that you're working on getting it, because you only have 9 years. I will say this, working for SBA for 23 years, especially in the 8A program, there were many firms that in 9 years were never awarded not one contract under 8A, not one. They went 9 years, and it's all due to lack of marketing. That was the reason. Oh, we don't have time to market. And, we're focusing on the commercial space. They had every excuse in the book. They just expected to obtain it. And all of a sudden the dollars were just going to, the floodgates were going to roll in, and the doors were, that were once closed and cracked were just going to be kicked wide open. That's never been the situation. You must make time to market it. So again, the clock starts, and someone will tell you they've got their 8A now, which she gave us the opportunity to help her get it. And we were so fortunate to have that experience with her and Terry. And she's got to hit the ground running. And she knows that. Like before you know it, it's been a year, it's been 2 years, it's been 3 years, and then you've wasted it with those years that you can't get back. So I would probably say that's the biggest thing that people who want 8A, and they haven't really focused on the marketing aspect of, oh, I'm a one-man shop, I don't have time. Why did you get 8A? You should have just waited. It's not, to me, it's not going anywhere. It's one of the best certs out there. And contracting officers, they love it, especially end of year. They can spend that money like this. It's like a 2-page letter, get the acceptance letter, and they're ready to roll. They're on to the next one. You can't really do that with the other certifications, meaning to get the contract in place quickly. It's the go-to. It's easy.
Yeah, so true. We meet entrepreneurs all the time where they get their 8A certification and they're so excited about it, and they're waiting for that work to fall from the sky magically, and it's not happening. You got to do the legwork before you even get the certification. So glad that you pointed that out, Monica. Summer, hearing all of that from Monica, why did i3 decide to go ahead and get your 8A certification? What were some of the deciding factors or some of the challenges that you were facing?
Whew, just for all the reasons that she said, as a small, it's kind of hard to get into the right spaces and make the right partnerships quickly. So having that edge, we thought would be advantageous to us and allow us just a better chance at success. So that's the main reason why we did that. Um, we're still kind of like having an uphill battle, definitely trying to get into the right spaces, into the right rooms, and promoting that we have at 8A in addition to providing the great services that we do provide. But it's just hard for smalls. Quite frankly, it's hard for smalls. So I'm happy to have this cert. I will continue to work with Monica on marketing and all the things that she's mentioned, business development, etc., so that we can continue to get out there. So we're working hard, and we have some things up our sleeve, and we have some things in the works right now, thank goodness. But I am grateful to have gotten the 8A. It was a process, but I think it's definitely making a difference already.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned process. We have a great question in the chat from one of our viewers, Tariq, who's asking, what is the estimated turnaround time to complete the 8A certification process? So Monica would love to hear more about the process from you and what folks can expect. And then Summer, if you can also kind of speak to what your experience was like and about how long it took for Ey3.
So legally, SBA is entitled to 90 days from the date that they deem the application to be complete. So Summer will tell you it will sometimes take months to get to that when it's actually accepted as completed. Okay. So that could go on 2 months, 3 months. It depends on your documentation, depends on your financials and a whole bunch of other stuff. But what is the legal turnaround? Once the application is submitted, SBA is legally entitled to 90 days. They're taking about double the time. And if you're doing your application yourself and you're receiving letters and it's going back and forth, it's going to take even longer than that. So being able to have your documentation that you're submitting initially be in really, really, really good shape, that will cut down on some of the back and forth. But again, clock doesn't start until the application is deemed to be complete. Summer and I, like when her and I first started the process, along with her husband, Terry, I told them, it should take you about 45 days to get me everything I'm going to need. So this is before submission. So just to gather up all the documentation, I don't care how great your paperwork is in order. It's going to take you almost the entire 45 because the list I'm going to give you is so long. And it's going to be things like, I don't know where my deed is. I bought the house 25 years ago. Like it gets to be deep like that. But again, when you talk about turnaround, it's also going to depend when you submit what the backlog is. But what's just a flat general, legally 90 days from the date that the application is submitted. It's going to take you about 45 to get all the paperwork together. But SBA is taking double their legal allowed time.
Thanks, Monica. Summer, anything that you would add around process and what was that gathering process like for you and Terry? Because maybe you thought that, hey, we can knock this out of the park. We got it all taken care of. And maybe that wasn't quite the case when you got that long checklist from Monica.
Whew. Yes, it was quite the process. And I'm so grateful to have had Monica because I don't know how we would have made it through without it. I was a person who prided myself on how organized my financial documents were and how everything was in order and just having it all together. And my husband can probably attest to that as well. Let me tell you about this process. And it's just the things that they ask you for. The deed is one thing. We have a trust, we have rental so you got to go and find multiple deeds. You got to go and get a copy of the trust. Where is the trust? Okay, I got that. Is that the right version? Oh, it was updated. Now I have to go to, the attorney's office to get the latest update. And then you have to work with that coordination as well. For us personally, a big challenge that we had was the way that our financial records were being produced or kept by our accounting and our tax preparer, etc. So we even had to go and get taxes amended just so that everything was streamlined in the way that it was expected to be streamlined for the SBA to know that all of our I's were dotted and T's were crossed. Now, nothing changed with our taxes, mind you, but things were just not organized in the way that they expected them to be. And I'll just take this quick opportunity to tell anyone, if you're small and you're just getting started and you plan to get your 8A, make sure that your vendors and that your service providers are very familiar with the process and understand and have some experience at it so that you can be set up to be successful when you're doing this process. That was something that we didn't think to do. We didn't know we had to do it. And definitely having to do like the amendment and going back and getting numerous documents and different types of financial documents. We just didn't know what we didn't know. So that was a big challenge for us. I want to say we probably took longer than 45 days to gather all the documents because life. She had a meticulous checklist. And like I said, without it, I don't know if we would have been successful in just knowing everything that we had to have together when we actually started doing the submissions. We had a questionnaire to determine our eligibility. That was where we started. So that was good in the first place. I felt confident in the beginning. Monica got into our business just to figure out, are we going to be successful? Is now the right time? And all those things. And I'm grateful that she did. We passed that test. And then again, it was those providing all the documents. I'm trying to think about everything. I swear we provided our children, arms, legs, toes, all of the above. They wanted to know everything. And then you all mentioned my husband. So it was not only me as the 100% owner of the company, it was my spouse as well. And he had to then provide information in his own accesses in a reasonable time. So, you have to work with your spouse to get things done. I don't know about you all or how quickly you can get your spouse to do something, but it might not be as quickly as you want them to do it. But just those types of challenges in life. Monica, we rode through a couple of holidays where my husband and I are both working full time and have a family. So those things definitely impacted our ability to in a timely fashion, provide the documents and responses. And again, I had to work with my service providers for my financials. So then I had to work through their availability. I made requests to them. It may have taken longer than I wanted it to take. That was 2 weeks. We had to get our responses back from the SBA. We got those. That took time. That may have taken about 2 weeks just for them to review and tell us you didn't do this, that, and the other. So just those types of things, they add to the amount of time that it takes to complete the whole entire process. I can't sing Monica's praises enough, and I'm not being facetious about it, but without that organization, all those folders, it was annoying, mind you, but without that, I don't know if I would have been able to gather the items in a timely fashion and know what I needed to have and where and how it needed to look. And then the supplemental information and letters to go with that to just show that you're just in terms of what you're submitting, like all those things, I never would have known it. So highly recommend Monica, thankful for her, and thankful for the 8A process being over.
It's just beginning, Summer. Now the real hard work starts, right? Got to go out and market that.
Absolutely.
I love how Stephanie, I'm sorry. I love how at the end she, I'm thinking she's going to say, I love, the process. And she says that it's over. I love that.
I know, right? And both Summer and Monica, y'all touched on eligibility, which can be a whole lengthy checklist in and of itself. And Monica, you briefly mentioned earlier about being economically or socially disadvantaged, but can you give us a little high level overview of what are some of the other eligibility requirements that entrepreneurs should be thinking of now, especially like in terms of net worth and things like that?
Okay, great. So we know that one of the eligibility criteria is that you be socially and economically disadvantaged. Social is based on your race. So it'll give the application will give you choices. So let's say you were to select, I am a Caucasian male, you would still have the opportunity to select that as a social disadvantaged group of sorts, but you would need to explain how you deem yourself and what circumstances have occurred that would deem you to be socially disadvantaged. So you have to write a narrative. But if you are African American, Hispanic, etc., you just check the box. So it's just an automatic. The economic, it's a 3-tier. So one is your personal, your total assets cannot exceed 6 million. There's no wiggle room on the three things I'm about to mention. If you're even $1 over, you do not qualify. So your total assets cannot exceed 6 million. Your average compensation that you take home to feed your family, not the revenues in the company. This is your W-2 salary. If you are not a employee of your company, but you are a 1099, you want to include that. Bonuses, distributions, withdrawals. If you're at retirement age and you're getting retirement funds, wherever you're getting personal compensation, you want to add all that up for each year for the past 3 years and divide by 3. That amount cannot exceed $400,000. So that's 2 of your economic challenges. And then the third is your personal net worth cannot exceed $850,000. And what you want to exclude when you go, because personal net worth is what? Assets minus liabilities. You get that number. Then you go back and you subtract out funds that are in your retirement account. If the prepayment penalty for early withdrawal is 10% or more. Let's say you're at retirement age and you are receiving retirement benefits, then you have to include every single dollar in that retirement account. And usually that will kick many people well over the 850. And then you also want to include the equity in your primary residence. How do you get the equity? It's the market value of the property minus the mortgage balance equals equity. Do not include that. And then lastly, your shares in your business are worth something. So do not include the equity in your business. That's how you come up with the adjusted personal net worth, which cannot exceed 850. So those are your 2 biggest criteria. But then when you start talking about other eligibility requirements, that list is as long as your folders I'm going to open up and say, give me all this information. I mean, it's from, are you delinquent on taxes? Are you on a payment arrangement? No, I'm not. Like Stephanie, it goes super deep. But when you're looking to see, are you eligible? It's those 2 things. It's also, how strong are your revenues? So the rule is not more than 70% of your total sales can be generated from one customer. So do you meet that eligibility requirement? Another one would be Summer had the experience, expertise, wherewithal, educations, proper certifications, etc., to run a business of her type. Do you? So that's another eligibility. Then you throw in good character. I know this is probably going to be a little bit surprising to you, but Summer has a clean record. I know, right? Surprise to me too. Like there were no, what we call 912, like being arrested. She's been a good girl, you know? And so that's another eligibility requirement. They're going to conduct an FBI background investigation on the individual on whom eligibility is based. Is your record clean? And let's say you do have something on that. A meeting with someone last week. It was like 30 years ago though. And it did wind up being dropped. So your character also comes into play. If you submit and you leave something out, that goes against character. So that's almost an automatic denial, to be honest with you, because now the government feels like you've purposely left that out. So Stephanie, it can get quite dicey, you know, not when it comes to eligibility, but just all the different things that they look at. You can meet every eligibility requirement and still not get it. Because some areas are gray, like they may not believe that Summer's resume is strong enough, even though she is 100% owner on paper, but it looks like her spouse has a little bit more experience and expertise than she does. Maybe he put her to the fore. Like they could infer so many different things. So it is almost impossible, which is why if you are working with any consultant and they guarantee you approval, do not work with them. It is not possible to guarantee approval. Summer and I had no idea that when we initially submitted her financials that they needed to be changed in some way, minor modifications done. We didn't know that until after we submitted. So there are too many unknown variables for anyone to promise you that if you give me these things based on 8A's law, I'm going to be able to get you in. That's a lie. Because there's so many little things that can come up. Summer and I could, last comment, Summer and I could have the exact same application. I get in, she doesn't. Because SBA saw something in me that they didn't see in her or vice versa. So again, no consultant can guarantee you that they can get you any certification. All we can do is submit, but you need a good consultant that after you submit and you start receiving letters back to modify things, that they haven't just gone and spent your money, that they stick around until the very end, no matter how long it takes. That's hard to find. And we get a lot of customers from other people's customers. This place in DC charged me $8,000 and we got our first letter and no one's returning my phone call. Stephanie, we hear that like every day. But Summer will tell you, we were in it until a decision was rendered, period. No matter how long that takes, at no extra fee, by the way. We don't charge a la carte. Here's a flat rate and we're in it like you're in it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much that goes into eligibility. And for anybody who's on the LinkedIn Live and you're curious to learn more about Ey3 and whether it's right for your company or not, we have a great downloadable checklist that you can get for free from Hutch. So definitely check that out as a resource. And so, Summer, would love to hear from you. What are some of the things that you wish you would have known before you had started the process, or things that you would have done differently, or any hiccups or mistakes along the way that you're like, oh, I wish I could have corrected that a little bit sooner to make this process go smoothly?
I talked about this a little briefly, but I definitely will reiterate it because it's important. If you know that you want to get an 8A, make sure that your financials are in accordance with the way that 8A is going to need to see them and receive them. Your vendor should be very familiar with the 8A process. I think I probably used some of your recommendations, Monica, also to get things cleaned up, because my previous bookkeeper, tax provider, just was not familiar enough with the 8A process. So although nothing was wrong with my taxes and nothing was necessarily wrong with how they were doing the financials, they just were not compliant with, again, the way that SBA needed to see everything kind of streamlined and being connected. So I had to get them amended. So if you start that way with that in mind and have those vendors that are already experienced in the 8A program, then they will kind of set you up on the right path, and you won't have to go back and do these things. I mean, fingers crossed. And like Monica said, you don't really know what they're going to ask for, but there are some conventional things and methods to doing the financials, I suppose, that those folks who are familiar would know. So that was like a huge one for me. Pack your patience. Get your finances and your documents, your company documents, your deed, your 401k documents. Start getting all that together now. Put it in a box, whatever you have to do, but get it together, and make sure it's in order. Make sure that your business minutes are in order, because I believe that was something that had to be submitted as well. What roles do individuals play, and where do they fall in your organization? You have to have that together, and it has to be properly documented. Make sure you're in good standing. Because you have to provide things like that. It's all these little things. And I believe that at the time I might have had something fall off, and I went back and something wasn't paid. So I had to go back and like clean up things. So I had a lot of surprises. And like I said, I thought things were in order and some things just weren't. And I'm typically meticulous at that. So I think even the type A-est of A's may find some holes or some things that need to be improved, or something that just was not done when you're going through this process. So definitely pack your patience, be prepared to work. It may be another job to you. It was for my spouse and I. So just be prepared to work at this, and make sure you have, the right people in your corner to help you through the process.
Yeah, and Summer, you know better than anyone how many hats an entrepreneur has to wear within their business life, their personal life. So, outside of Monica just being an angel and a delight to work with, why did you decide to even have somebody help you with this process? Being somebody who's very meticulous, very organized, type A, what made you think, hey, maybe I should bring somebody on board to help me through this process?
I'm the queen of that's not my ministry. So I knew that I just did not have the cycles to pursue this alone. And after Monica presented during one of our Hutch sessions, I had confidence in her, and she and I had other conversations about financials and different things. And with her experience, I felt very comfortable that I was going to go with her to kind of walk us through this process. And I just knew that I just did not have it in me to do the cycles alone. I just had too many things going on, and why not, outsource a trusted and recommended person to help through that. I don't mind paying for great service. I don't mind paying an expert to do what they're great at. I mean, it was a no-brainer for us to utilize her services. And I've heard of people who have done it on their own, but that was not for me to do that. And I'm definitely grateful and happy that we connected and that she helped us through this process. And now we've even garnered a even closer relationship to do further business ventures together. And she's going to help us mentor us through some other things as well. And I'm definitely happy for their relationship, but I knew that I needed help, and I'm not afraid to ask for it.
I love that, Summer. And Monica, you spent a long time at SBA and now obviously running your company, helping entrepreneurs. So are there other common mistakes that you've seen come across your desk as folks are looking to get certified?
Wow, so many. Where do I start? So we touched on the character issue. So that's probably the financials not being in order, something as simple as the retained earnings. I probably have, over my past 33 years, seen that in almost every letter that every client has ever received, is that the financial statements of the clients, the retained earnings did not carry forward correctly from one year to the next. I see that like every day. So if I had to give you the biggest thing, please go back and check. Are your retained earnings being carried from one year to the next? That is a very common mistake. Another thing is you cannot be operating at a loss. Operating at a loss, and that's another big issue. So we've had clients where when we started, they were good to go, but let's say now they've taken so long, another year has passed, and now they are operating at a loss. We have to stop the process. Operating at a loss means you have no money to fund a contract. So why would SBA approve you for 8A certification when you can't win work and fund it? Because you can't build the government day one, right? So that's another issue, is that you are not as financially strong as maybe when you first started the process, or you're not financially strong now. You need to wait. It doesn't make for a good application. And I'll just keep it real. We won't touch it. If we believe that everything doesn't line up, not some things, everything must line up from an eligibility standpoint. If you have any red flags, you must be able to mitigate it. If you can't, we always recommend you wait. And if you don't want to wait, you'll need to find another consultant, because we won't do it. Why won't we touch it, Stephanie? For two reasons. One is ego, and that is, I don't want to have to say to a Summer later on, well, how many have you had decline? And now I've got to add that as part of my stats because we're taking on applications that we can't possibly get approved. So that's a no-go for us. And secondly, you're just going to be upset with me later. Trust me, when I put you, and Summer will attest to this, Terry as well, when I put you through what I'm going to put you through, we start off as friends. As we get through the process, we are not friends. You're not going to like me. Like every 2 weeks, I'm going to send you a spreadsheet, tell you all the stuff that you did wrong. I'm going to keep kicking it back until it must be as perfect as I need it to be, as we over here at TRG need it to be, to cut back on the back and forth. So that will probably be the next thing, Stephanie, is that clients will give us, and again, no disrespect, they will give us garbage. I will clearly ask you for a certificate of good standing, no older than 30 days. You will give me one you pulled 6 months ago. I mean, this is what we deal with here. So when you talk about patience, we have loads of that, and some, not every day, but most days we do, because we're very clear about what is required. But then firms, because of the busyness of their personal lives and other things that they have going, I have a client now where her mom has just been diagnosed with dementia. And we're in the middle of packaging her woman-owned small business. Do you think she feels like doing that right now? Of course not. So she called me frustrated and upset, and she made a comment of, I thought you were going to help me more. Whoa, Nelly. Okay, I gave you the list. You've got to come up with the documents. So we are tough cookies over here. We're not going to bend the rules so that you will have less work to do. If I need it, I need it. We can hash it out and we can talk about it. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna still need that deed. You just spent 20 minutes telling me, why do I have to ask you for it? And you can't find it. But as soon as we're done talking, be like, Summer, I need the deed. So when you get it, let me know. Like we're going to be tough on you. And then last comment, Stephanie, is another thing that we see is that firms' infrastructure is not strong. They don't know what meeting minutes are. Hey, I'm a sole member LLC. Why do I need to give you meeting minutes? SBA requires that you meet with yourself at least once a year. I know it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of too, but it is a requirement as an LLC. That requirement's always been there. We just never do it because it's just us. Who's going to know whether I met with myself or not? No one's ever going to know that until you go for 8A. And then it comes back to now you got to go back and backdate 2 years of this supposed meeting that you had with the officers, who is you, the treasurer, which is you, you hold every position there is to hold in the LLC, but you're going to write up some meeting minutes from a template that you found online and you're going to sign and date it. I need it. You can debate me that is ridiculous, but at the end of the day, I'm still going to need it. So Stephanie, those are the types of things that we see. And some firms think that they're ready. They pay our fee, we get started, and I'll ask for the most basic thing and they can't produce it. We've never done that. We don't have that. That's going to prolong. Don't you know that 45 days I mentioned earlier? So instead of 45 days of you getting me everything I need, it's going to take you double 45 days because you don't have the items that are required. We don't cut corners. Someone said to me, last comment said to me, Stephanie, well, can we just submit? And then if they come back and ask, we don't do that here. Because my name is on the application, by the way. Part of 8A is you have to submit a copy of the paid in full invoice between our companies, as well as a copy of the consulting agreement. So when I submit garbage or incomplete applications to the government, that's my reputation and my name on the app. We won't do it until you get everything and be 100% full in compliance. We will not submit. Again, we're tough over here. It's for your own good. I'll be honest with you, because by the time we're done packaging the 8A, your infrastructure will be fantastic. You will not like the process. It'll be excruciating. You will not like me someplace in the middle. You'll love me at the end. You love me at the beginning, but in the middle, you won't like me. But I'm okay with that because I know that what we're going through is going to make you a better company internally, and with having the 8A, you'll make millions. Once the dollars roll in, you'll forgive me. All will be well. We'll be friends again. And that's pretty much it. So I could go on and on about that part, but I'm sorry, Stephanie, go ahead.
No, that's awesome. I'm so glad that you mentioned that, Monica, because we hear that from folks all the time of, well, how are they going to really know, right? SBA is extremely thorough in all of the vetting and the verification that goes into this. And, some other myths that we hear from folks is thinking that, well, 8A is a program that's meant to help me build my company and my generational wealth and things like that. So Monica, any other myths that you hear from entrepreneurs or misconceptions around what 8A is designed to do as a business development program?
And I love the way you worded that. It's a business development program. That's what it is. It's not to make you rich. It's not to help you get a bigger house and, to get yet another Tesla in your driveway. It's not meant for any of that. It's a business development program. It places you, kind of think of it being an ocean right now where you're in this full and open competition scenario and you have no certifications. So that means every time something comes out, if it's set aside for any program, you can't bid. If you try and go after something, the opportunities are way too large. So now you're stuck in bidding against the Lockheeds, the Siemens, and some of these other larger companies or larger smalls. Not every business needs to be a large. It can be a small business, but they're pretty big. All right. So 8A takes you out of that ocean and places you in a swimming pool where you can compete against other businesses of same and similar size. That is why you want 8A, to try to line it up where you have an opportunity at least to bid. Not that everything you look at is out of your scope because it's too large. You can't fund it. You can't staff it. You don't have strong past performance. You got all these issues and challenges. Well, 8A alleviates you. It removes you from that and places you into this box, into this, smaller swimming pool where you actually have a shot. But again, it is not to do any of the things that you talk about. So that's one misconception is that once you get 8A, SBA is going to hold your hand and give you phone numbers and email addresses. No one has time for that. You're supposed to already have those names and phone numbers. And if you don't have them, you should at least know how to get them. And if you don't, your BOS is, again, this is a business development program. One of the eligibility criteria is that you be in business for at least 2 years. So that means you know what it's like. Now, the minimum is 1 year, but you got to, excuse me, not 1 year, but 1 year, but you got to have strong past performance. So you can't submit 1 year of tax returns that show zero or $2,000 in revenue in 1 year. Like, you can't. So you can seek a waiver if you've been in business less than 2 years, but pretty much the eligibility requirement is 2 years. So SBA's assumption is 2 years in business, you've got customers. You've got some type of past performance. You know what it's like to get work. You know what it's like to fund a contract. You know what it's like to perform well. You know what it's like to do business with not just, I'll say some clients, when they're applying for 8A, do have government contracts. Some do not. It's not a requirement. A customer is a customer. I could be one of your customers. So there is no requirement that the business, the past performance that you submit must be government. They would prefer that it was, so that you understand what it's like to not get paid for 3 months. That would be nice if you understood that, and not just on the commercial side where you tend to get paid in a timely manner. On the government side, you do not. So can you fund, pay your W-2s, pay your 1099s while you're waiting for the first invoice that you submitted to get paid, and you've since then submitted 3 more, nothing's been paid yet? How will you survive? So for 8A companies, you already know what this is like. Typically, an 8A applicant already knows. So that's another misconception, Stephanie, is that, once they get in, that SBA is going to walk them through all of these nuances. No, they're not. That's not part of it. This is a self-sufficient business development, hit the ground running on your own program. No one is going to hold your hand. Your business opportunity specialist, her job is to do certain things. Help you go talk to a customer is not one of them. Okay. Oh, do you know anyone at Treasury? Can you get me? I think her name is Stephanie. Do you have her phone number? I don't know. Do you? Do I? Because the same place I'm going to get it is the same place you should know to get it, which is online. She works for Health and Human Services. I'm going to check their directory. Again, this is a huge misconception that when you're in this program, that someone's going to teach you something. Not that, not those basics. You're supposed to already know. So it gets to be, a bit of a challenge of the hand holding. This is not that, sir. You've got to be ready to roll. And if you're not, it's okay. We all have to crawl before we walk. Don't go get the 8A and then you spend the first 2 years trying to figure out, how do I find upcoming events for Health and Human Services? Never thought to go to the website, huh? That's what a calendar is. Sometimes I scratch my head, but there are some firms that are coming to me for 8A and they don't know that. They don't know that everything's on the agency's website. So again, these are the types of things that as we're packaging, we're trying to help you through and walk you through at no additional cost. I have to teach you how to leverage, how to find work. So while you're packaging, you're asking me questions, I'm answering, I'm sending you information. So it's a lot of back and forth during the process. So by the time you get it, you're ready. Like if you're coming to us, we're going to get you ready. And again, we do all that without all these a la carte. I'm going to invoice you every time we talk. We don't do that here. I want to teach you and give you everything that you need to be successful. 8A can make you a millionaire, can make your business humongous. And that's not a exaggeration at all. That's a reality.
Yeah, such valuable information from Monica. You can tell that she has so much experience and expertise doing this. So Summer, as we kind of head towards the 45-minute mark and, folks are dropping their final questions into the chat, I'm curious, do you have any last words or tips or tricks for entrepreneurs, not only around 8A and whether it's right for them, but really 8A as a business development tool in their toolbox?
I probably sound like a broken record, so I'm not going to repeat what I already said about getting things in order. But as Monica even mentioned, like this is something that gives you an edge. It's a bonus to what you already have to offer. So I do highly encourage and recommend everyone who's a small business and eligible to consider it. Yeah, and the set aside part of it, I wanted to mention earlier, this is something that I thought about. It's hard. Another reason why it's hard to compete with even the large smalls or others is because that past performance is required. And typically as a small, you don't have past performance, so you're trying to get the contract so you can get the past performance. So it's that cycle, the cart before the horse situation. And by getting these certifications, it makes the pool smaller, which helps you to be at tables that you would not normally be able to be at. So I just highly encourage it, and I'm looking forward to blowing up. So look out for Ey3 and us being successful, and for partnerships as well. So that's all I got, Steph. Thank you.
Appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody's time today. Monica, Summer, always a pleasure chatting with you. And thank you so much for sharing your valuable information with us. For everybody who's interested in learning more, definitely download our checklist around A-Day. Visit our Hutch website, hutchstudio.io. Summer, Monica, where can folks find you if they want to get in touch?
For me, it would be www.therandallgrp.com. Easy.
Yes, and you can find Ey3 at ey3.tech. That's ey3.tech.
Easier.
Thank you so much, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the rest of your Wednesday. Appreciate the time today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Monica. Thanks, Summer.
Thank you.